Welcome everyone. Today's Monday, October 18th, 2021. Call this meeting to order. Ms. Kraft, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Grumbles?
Here.
Ms. Taranto? Here. Mr. Rivers?
Here. All right, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Start tonight with a couple of zoning hearings, both pertaining to Evans Farm. So I'll go ahead and open the hearing. Anything before I do that? No? All right, so we'll open the hearing for zoning application 21-05, Evans Farm PCD amendments.
Good evening. My name is Tony Eierman. I'm with Evans Farmland Development Company. Our mailing address is 1550 Lewis Center Road, Suite B. With me this evening is Kevin Kirshner. He's our engineer with Kimley Horn. We're here to answer any questions, but just to give you a brief presentation. November of 2020, we were before the Board of Trustees for an amendment, minor amendment. It was a Zoom meeting, and in that Zoom meeting, the trustees requested that we come in and clarify and simplify our zoning text, which roughly was about, at the time, 300 pages with two binders combined, probably about that thick. That was the single-family planned residential and the planned commercial district. Shortly after that, we met with Michelle, and over the course of this past year, 11 months, we worked with Michelle and the Orange Township staff and the Zoning Commission to consolidate those two into a single document. It's still a planned residential, single-family planned residential and planned commercial amendment that will replace those two binders with a binder that you have before you, which is roughly about 50 pages, and it's this. We met with and worked with the Zoning Commission on a number of occasions, both individually in private meetings and publicly in the Zoning Commission meetings. We have satisfied them that everything that was in those two large binders has been consolidated down and simplified and clarified into this document. I could go into a lot of detail, but the plan hasn't changed, the text hasn't changed. I think I could, without trying to echo exactly what Michelle said in the last Zoning Commission meeting, we've gone line by line through the entire originally approved and the amendment zoning text, and everything that's in those documents is in the binder you have, in the draft you have before you tonight. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions and respond in any way I can. We ask for your approval this evening. Thank you.
Michelle or Brett, do you have any comments?
I do not have any further comments. Like Tony said, that we did work on this for over a year, and I appreciate the Zoning Commission, as it did take us time to go page by page in the development plan, just to make sure that everything we wanted in the original applications was presented here today.
And we did have a unanimous 5-0 vote of approval from our Zoning Commission?
It was a 4-0 vote. One of our members
okay.
was not there, but yes, it was unanimous.
What, I know there was some discussion on density and things like that. Where'd that land? Did we go after that with this change at all?
We did.
Okay.
The staff and the Zoning Commission asked for a little bit more diversity in the single family, and the plan that you have before you identifies where some potential duplex units in the single-family planned residential district would occur if they occur.
If they occur.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear. I know there was, in talking with residents, there's always, especially around Evans Farm, this past weekend, it came up actually in a conversation with respect to kind of solidifying the way ahead, and that was really the catalyst for us speaking, Michelle speaking, and the whole board really kind of talking about this. I think the goal at the onset of this effort was really, you were coming before the board frequently, every few months, for things that were less significant than what we would typically deal with, and I think that I want to make sure I clarify that, because there were some questions, as you know, when you were here last time, and residents are frankly, they're interested in what's going on there. So just letting them know that that's more of what the effort was here, was to make it more efficient and common sense. It wasn't to uproot and drastically change or give, changes outside of the significant one being the duplex, which you've noted on the western side and the north end there, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 2 sectors.
Yeah, the zoning commission wanted the duplexes, if they need to be permitted around the oval, so
The commercial area.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me. As far as the school goes, I know that has come up too with the election year. Can you help us understand where that's slated to go?
Sure. As I mentioned before, the plan hasn't changed. The oval, which is the shaded area in the center, the northeast quadrant, right where that palm is slated for the, as a single that whole zoned area, the whole gray area is the planned commercial district. The northeast corner there is the school site.
Okay.
And it's always been that way. The oval was always the geographical center of Evans Farm, for the most part. And from the very northeast corner up in Berlin Township, at the corner of Hollenbach to Hollenbach and Old State, and then Street B, which is the east-west coming out of the oval, which goes over to Old State, that's Street B there, is basically about a 10-minute walk for a first grader from the northeast corner to the oval, to that school site. It's all on sidewalks, it's all on paths. I remember Superintendent Dave, I believe it was Davis, before Mr. Rafe, and he asked where all the parking was, and I said, well, this is a walking elementary school, and he said, well, I've never had that in the schools here. He said, boy, this is going to be awesome. And that's we've lived up to everything we promised them. So
it's more common now. I think that they've eliminated busing within a mile or whatever.
Yeah, but it's still, it's a neighborhood oriented.
Sure.
Yeah. So
yeah, much easier to walk through that than along a
absolutely
road. Yeah. That question comes up a lot too. So
it's still in our plans. It's still that northeast quadrant has always been and still remains the elementary school site.
And hopefully this will help with not having to come back before the board all the time. Any questions from any residents here tonight? No. Michelle? Rivers, anyone?
No.
Thank you.
It's Trustee Grumbles, that these are 2 applications, but we did have the applicant submit as one combination one, so it will be 2 resolutions.
Correct, yeah. Making sure I got that. All right. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-337, adopting the recommendation of approval of the zoning commission as to zoning application 21-05 of Evans Farm Land Development Company, LLC.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-338, adopting the recommendation of approval of the zoning commission as to zoning application 21-06 of Evans Farm Land Development Company, LLC.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Concludes our zoning hearing. We'll return to regular session now. Are there any public comments outside of zoning commission? Or sorry, the zoning changes? No? Any agenda changes?
No.
Got one agenda change pertaining to the fire department and a couple of programs I'm talking to Chief McNeil about. I just want to get those surfaced with the board for consideration and awareness tonight. We can do that new business at the end. Any concerns with the consent agenda items?
No.
No.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-339, approving the electronic record of proceedings from the regular meeting held on October 4th, 2021. And Resolution 21-340, approving purchase orders, then and now purchase orders, and blanket purchase orders as listed as part of the consent agenda.
Second. Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Right. Let's do our zoning.
Yes, good evening. So this evening we did hear application number zone-21-05 and zone-21-06 regarding the Evans Farm Plan Commercial and Single Family Plan Residential Districts. Following that, we have on Tuesday, November 16th at 7 p.m., we will be holding an organizational meeting with the Zoning Commission, and this will just be for minutes. We need to approve our 2022 calendar, and we'd like to provide them an update on the zoning resolution rewrite. We will have our first kickoff meeting with our consultant tomorrow, and that'll just be with staff and the consultant at that point. Following that, on Thursday, November 18th at 6 p.m., the Board of Zoning Appeals has one application, variance application number 21-15, and that is seeking an area variance for a freestanding sign over on Columbus Pike. And that is all I have for the zoning report.
Thank you. Mr. Bowers?
Good evening, Board. Two things tonight.
I'm sorry, Silas, can you move your, or can you grab the microphone?
Good evening. A couple things tonight on operations. The first one is the Park Lawn Drive improvement project, which is slated for 2022. This is part of an OPWC grant. The township share of that project, which includes paving of 4 roads in and around the elementary school and some of the courts off of that, is a little under $35,000. The agreement in place is, or the resolution is just to approve the agreement with Delaware County Engineer's Office to proceed with the OPWC funding as well as the improvement project. Let me group all 4 of these together. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Next one is Orangewick Drive REA, again through Delaware County Engineer's Office. That project, the genesis of that project is the potential Schottenstein development at Shanahan 23, listening to residents talking about the traffic on Orangewick Drive North. We discussed briefly with the township some of the options there to mitigate the traffic concerns of the residents. One of the options that could come with that is studying the traffic and looking at closing off the access from Orangewick Drive past the commercial properties and leaving it for emergency access only, potentially acquiring right-of-way, just looking at different options. But one of the first pieces that would be to study the traffic in that area to see if it's necessitated by the amount of traffic in the area. So this REA would essentially kick off that project and allow us to gather some more data before we make any decisions and present anything else to the board for that. The next item is the long-awaited Lazelle Road Culvert and Storm Sewer Improvement. This project began back in 2020 was close to being ready to go. Another issue with the next storm sewer up the street popped up. Additional right-of-way was needed to be acquired. We are now at the point with Delaware County engineers where they have a agreement with the city of Columbus and Franklin County to move forward with that project. We're anticipating that project to be a wintertime project. Should have it done sometime in the off season here. The cost for the township for that is $35,000, which is about half of what the township would normally incur for a storm sewer improvement of this magnitude. A lot of that has to do with the shared street with City of Columbus and Franklin County. And the final thing is a discussion with the board for 1680 for the roof here at this facility. Again, that project is another one that was started in the past, and we're starting to see more and more roof issues, roof leaks, gutter issues, a lot of issues with the building. With that project being kicked off last year, it appears that there was some preliminary work done, measurements, estimates, timeframes put into play. Before we move further with that, I want to allow the board to provide any feedback or generate some discussion if needed. Before we move forward with that, it's going to be roughly a $300,000 project. The bidding and the work right now is a little bit higher than normal just due to the state of the industry. Anticipation is that the bids will come in lower for that. That'll probably be an early 2022 project is our hope right now, but it will take some time to design and to lay all that out for the board.
What's the outside of supply chain right now in the industry? What's the main driver? Is it just the repair work, the subroofing and the joist? I know there was some discussion about a lack of structure, I want to say.
Yeah, it's a great point, great question. I believe, obviously, you mentioned supply chain. Obviously, labor shortage in some of the trades fields right now is impacting some of the costs and some of the bids and the pricing that we're expected to see. One of the issues with the building we're finding is that there's been a lot of stuff that has sat for a while and hasn't been touched. If there was a leak, it's been patched. If there's another leak, it was patched, sometimes with a bigger patch. And some of the larger scale repairs have been neglected a little bit. So we're at the point now with the age of the building, the condition of the building, just reading through the report that was provided to us, that we're at the point where a whole scale replacement is needed. I do anticipate some contingency money being needed for this between the gutter repairs, replacements, potential replacement of some of the underlayments of the roof. There could be some additional things that pop up on a building of this age, but looking at metal roofing, it should provide us multiple decades of maintenance-free or minor maintenance going forward.
We're not going shingles.
No, the plan would be to not go the dimensional shingle route, which was what was drawn up last year when this project first surfaced. Our plan would be go to a standing seam metal roof, and again look for multiple decades of longevity, so we won't have to touch it for quite a while.
What was the bid for dimensional shingle versus metal?
I think it was about a $75,000 difference, give or take, $75,000 to $100,000. Now again, that was a year and a half or so ago, so that cost has gone up significantly since then.
25, 50 probably.
Yeah,
What lifespan? Dimensional shingle, 20 probably.
Yeah,
Shingles,
20 to 25 on average, depending on conditions. We have a lot of shade and a lot of trees, so it tends to not dry out as well and go down a little bit on the life term there. Metal roofing, looking at probably upwards of 50 years.
There it is.
I think warranted for 30 plus.
Okay, and then I know last item for you that I had a question on, the scheduling. We're getting into fall. You know, we've had hiccups in the past with the field scheduling. I know you were working on a plan, and I've seen a draft of that. What are we thinking as far as timeline goes? They're going to start wanting to schedule in November, December?
In the draft proposal I'm working on right now, I have it broken down by season to help provide a little bit of clarity and a little bit of, I guess it's continuity going forward. So there's defining dates for each season that's several months in advance of when the season would start. I believe, without having it in front of me here, I believe for the spring season it was in January. It was like late January, early February.
So the reason I bring that up, I think last year, one of the groups, in reading through the emails, had some pressure from the league they participate in to finalize field schedules by January or something like that so that they could communicate with the rest of the league, right? And that was one of the many catalysts, I think, that disrupted the flow. So it would probably be, I know we had talked before about meeting with each group of participants collectively and kind of talking through the timeline.
Mhm.
You may want to reach out to the points of contact we have and just establish what their deadline is.
Yes, I definitely would like to do that before anything's set in stone, and want to make sure everything's clear going forward, so we can, again, kind of clean up some of the issues we had this past
I
year.
think Olentangy United needed the confirmation earlier than Columbus United, for example.
Okay.
I think rugby came in kind of between those two. Cricket, same thing. So get them all on whatever the lowest common denominator kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I've spoken with several of them here in the last couple of weeks, and none of them are pushing right now to try to get things in. They're just kind of curious about the process. Just they're aware that some changes probably were needed to the process, and again, just trying to help clean that up a little bit. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to lay out a path forward that allows us for, again, clarity and just being more prepared for what we've had to deal with in the past, and try to make it fair for everybody.
Yeah, look good. Appreciate your efforts there. Any other questions from the board? Administrator? Okay. On the OPWC, just to be clear, the 35 grand is our cut, right? With the grant and everything.
Correct. I don't know if that's on there, Michelle.
I got it up here. It's fine.
The total project cost is just shy of $500,000.
Okay.
And 32,000 roughly is our number, so 35 just rounded up a little bit. It's expecting some contingency to come through with that. So yeah, with the county chipping in, OPWC chipping in, our share is roughly 6.5% of that project.
It's amazing. Good work there. Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-341, approving an application to participate in Ohio Public Works Commission state capital improvements and/or local transportation improvement programs, and to execute contracts as required for Park Lawn Drive improvement project.
Second. Real quick, who are you authorizing? The next line now says authorizing who?
We'll authorize, looks like it has to be a trustee. I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
If the board doesn't object. No?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-342, authorizing Township Administrator execution of a request for engineering assistance with the Delaware County Engineers Office regarding Orangewick Drive North Traffic Study.
Second. Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Silas, when you all work with the county engineer on that, can we push for clarity on the sewer? That was a big deal for those residents too.
Sanitary?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sanitary, sewer, water, the whole bit, since they're on septic and everything. I'd like to get that shored up as much as we can for them. Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-343, approving a cooperative project agreement for Lazelle Road, Culvert, and storm sewer improvements.
Second. Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
There's one for the roof. The roof, hang on. Nope,
There's no
not one.
resolution for the room.
Nope. For it.
No, just looking for consent on that to move forward.
Okay, so you want to do a consent?
Okay, so consent to move forward with getting
Just
quotes, or?
a verbal from the board that's okay to push forward with pursuing that project.
You know what
Okay.
I mean?
That's,
Mr. Rivers, you said yes down there?
yes.
Ms. Taranto? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Chief Neal.
Evening, Board. The only thing I have for you tonight is one of our crews received a donation of $50 for Senior Antonio's gift card, and I'd like to accept that as a donation.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-344, acknowledge and accept donation.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Thank you, Board.
The board doesn't mind, I'd like to, there's just a couple things with the fire, makes sense to do now probably. Chief, I know we had looked a couple weeks ago at updating the body armor. what exists has expired or is expiring. We didn't have enough to go around the department. There were fit issues because it was shared, which exposes our team to harm. I'm not going to get into the physics behind body armor, but essentially when they have gaps where they don't fit properly, it doesn't work properly, right? Right now, the team's using stage 1 and stage 2, so 2 components. They've got a very basic vest that outdated years ago, decades ago. It's not going to do a whole lot outside of handgun type protection. And they have a secondary ceramic plate vest that they use for active shooter situations that they have to put on over that. So they're looking at a bit of a inefficient process considering all the gear they have on anyway, and they have to readjust everything to put it on. The ceramic plates and the Kevlar have expiration dates. The ceramic degrades over time, it gets dropped, things like that can affect their performance. Fire department did a really nice job on this. They went out and leveraged federal contracts in place with different military units and things like that to obtain the best cost for the replacement body armor. The new stuff that they proposed has a longer lifespan. I think it went from like 5 and 10 years to 15, if I'm not mistaken. It's lighter weight, and it's all integrated. It's a one-piece unit. And they'd be looking to get every person within the fire department their own equipment. I believe the cost projected between $55,000 and $65,000 for the whole department, which isn't astronomical for body armor, considering we've got to get new armor anyway for the team. It's expired. Tried to go after some CARES funds for that from a hygiene perspective, and that was rejected. So I did want to get that in front of the board. Probably imperative that we get that secured sooner than later with the supply chain constraints. There's a lot of competition for armor right now between military and civilian sectors. So I don't know when you're planning to present that, Chief, but would think we want to giddy up on that one so we don't get caught in a supply chain snafu, right? Okay. New business? Okay. Okay. I want to make sure that's in there. Okay. I saw the armor, but I didn't see it for the amount I was expecting.
No, it's because we had to go through 2 companies to get it down in cost. So we kind of went through 2 different companies to get the lowest cost possible.
Okay, so it came out.
It comes out to about $66,000.
After the original quote of 65, I think it was.
No, it's the exact same quote.
Okay.
It's just broken down between 2 companies.
Okay.
Overall,
Instead of the one.
it's still the same. It's just
Okay.
2 companies.
Well, that's even more savings, so I appreciate the effort there. They did a nice job. They had everything laid out and prepared, so it was nice to meet with them. The second thing that I wanted to do is talk about mental health for the fire department. Chief had approached me a couple months ago with a app that enables fire staff to communicate. Most of you know we did lose a fireman in 2019. In the industry, it's not uncommon for first responders in general. Most first responders are veterans as well. And there's all kinds of studies out and science out now. Folks have been increasingly trying to deal with it. The app is step one, and in talking with Chief last week, I know the county and some other folks locally are moving towards using that app, which is great, because if we do the same, it will allow our fire department to communicate with people for help that aren't necessarily in the department. There's a lot of concern within the ranks over that. Military is the same. In addition to that, through the Pat T-Berry Institute, actually, I met a Green Beret who leads a nonprofit focused on first responders and veterans in active military. And it's a program, it's a 72-hour program that gives them resources, tools, and essentially a small cohort of external parties that they can work with to navigate the challenges. It's no cost to attend. It's about $4,000 an attendee. But they've got chairs that they can fill. I went down to their site in Hillsborough, and it's world class. They do life-changing work, and I want to make sure that, I talked to some firemen that were down there from Columbus at the time. One of the challenges they've had in getting more of their department through the program is scheduling. Believe it or not, you've got people that are dealing with trauma all the time, and they can't get relief for scheduling. Pretty bad state when that happens. So I just wanted to surface with the board. I spoke with a couple of the different units, Friday, about this last week, and just encouraged them to reach out. I know some of the more tenured folks probably have been dealing with it for a lot longer, so I want to make sure we're supportive of that. While I was at the fire station, it was a pretty surreal experience. They were preparing lunch, and they had a cardiac arrest pull up at the front of the fire station. We dealt with that quickly. And then within 5 minutes, back to lunch. And so that's the norm all the time. Severe trauma, stuff like that happens. And I just really want to bring that up to the board and the collective leadership team to say, with our part-time improvement and our staffing improvements, anything we can do to help facilitate that, we should be. And I want to make sure, Chief, that you're sharing the message with the team and continue to pursue that handheld resource as well.
That's actually going to be county-wide, county purchases, so we will all.
Oh, great. So we don't have to buy that.
Yes. That was nice about it.
When we get that implemented, I'd like to see what it, I know you walked through a little bit of it with me, but.
I have a meeting this week. I'm going to start meeting with them now that I know a lot about it. They want me on board, so we'll talk about that.
Well, thank you. Apologize for not putting the map together on the body armor. I saw the two companies that threw me off a bit, but I do appreciate the work the team did there. It was really good work. Moving to the fiscal office report.
Okay, so let's start with unclaimed funds. As you guys know, this is something that drives me crazy. When I took office, things are still on the books that date back to 2012. So this is, we have the first resolution here is to create a fund that we can move these monies into, and then we have to hold them in fund for the new fund for 5 years before we can move them back to the original fund they were paid out of. So starting the process, even though it's going to be another 5 years till all this is cleaned up. We've only got, since I started, we've only got 3 outstanding checks still, which we're going to work on outside of outstanding funds since they're still recent enough we can contact them directly. But it'll be great to get these 104 transactions off of our books. So the other thing I would suggest, from the email that I sent you guys about this, hopefully y'all got to see it, but we may want to consider posting this list on our website. Not sure how people are comfortable with that. I know there are 3 or 4 names on here that I've already sent emails to asking for updated contact information because I have a friend of a friend or something like that. So if there's people on here or companies on here that we can get updated information and try to get reissued, that would be a great step to cleaning this up too. But let me know if this is something you want out on the website or not. So that's the first item.
I know Todd spent a lot of time on that. Thank him.
Yeah, I will. He took this project and ran with it. So now, if you guys approve the new fund, then we have to move appropriations so that when people request their money, we can go ahead and pay them. So that's what the next resolution is, just the required paperwork for our appropriation changes, and those are all related to the unclaimed funds. Then the next one is the Voyager card. So BP has not been the easiest to work with, as you guys probably know, and I know you all get that call on New Year's Day from the fire department that BP didn't cash our check, so all of a sudden the BP cards don't work for our medics or whatever the case is. So while we are paying ACH and we're doing everything physically we can on our end to make sure there aren't late payments, they are now charging us a fee every month to have an extended, not an immediate bill pay, but have like a 20-day period from the issue date of the bill to pay the bill. Now, we do get a 6% discount on the fuel, but if we think about where the BPs are located, it's Polaris Parkway, it's Worthington, or it's Delaware. So they're not easy to get to, they're not convenient, we take labor time to get to them. I'll let Silas or Nathan speak to that also if they'd like to chime in here. But we've been working with those two friends since they're the fuel users here. And we explored the Voyager card, which is what the state of Ohio uses for their fleets. And it seems to be the way to go. You can see from the memo that Todd sent you last week, Meyer, Get-Go, Speedway, Kroger, BP, Friendship, gas stations are some of the ones that accept the Voyager card. They gave us a 25-day payment term, shorter drive times, all the stuff that goes with that. And what we've been talking to ops and fire about is, instead of individual cards, doing a card for each vehicle. And then we'll be tracking the mileage for each vehicle. It will require mileage to be entered, which is not what's happening right now. So we can see how much gas is going into each vehicle, get that kind of more granular detail around that. And we would do a card also, a separate unassigned card for when Aaron has to fill gas tanks for generators or whatever the case is. So that is a proposal. Hopefully you guys have a chance to kind of take a look at Todd's email, and if Silas or Nathan, if you guys have anything to add, then please feel free to chime in.
Do you think Bill Worley would need an unassigned one too?
I don't know. Yeah, but we'll give you a yes. Okay. So if this were approved, we would come back kind of like we do with the credit card exhibits. We'd come back to get that exhibit approved.
Okay.
Okay, so that would have each of the vehicle name numbers and the card, the last four of the card, as well as the credit limit. But this is approving us moving forward with that program. And then the next one is vendors approved for electronic funds transfer. Basically, what we want to do is add, if the Voyager is, if you guys approve Voyager, then we'd like to add them to our ability to pay via ACH. And then once we roll to Voyager, if that's the direction the board wants to go, then we'll come back in another month or so once we've completed rollout and update this to remove BP oil. Okay? That's a lot for fiscal. And the month-end reports we did last month, so that doesn't need to be on there. I missed that. That's my bad. Sorry.
Any questions, your board?
No.
Makes sense.
Thank you for the effort here. Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-345, Establishment of New Fund.
Second. Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-346, revising and/or increasing permanent appropriations established in Resolution 20-401.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-347, authorize the fiscal office to apply for an account with Voyager for fuel cards for vehicles that will be able to be used at many different gas stations.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-348, updating vendors approved for electronic funds transfer.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Bonnie?
Okay, yes, thank you. So the first item under the administrative report is the team and I put together a trustee meeting agenda preparation, and there's no action needed for this evening, but I just wanted to make the board aware as we are trying to put more of a structure in place on how agenda items and backups and resolutions are submitted to us. So this is the process that we attempted to follow this past meeting, and it did work out pretty well. So just wanted to let you all know that, and if you had any questions, I'm happy to address it. But I think moving forward, having this to refer to will be really helpful.
I know Jess put a lot of effort into this.
Yes.
So
She made the flow chart.
she did a nice job, and the process work that the team's doing all together has been really, really helpful.
Good.
So thank you.
Sure. The second item on the agenda is another round of obsolete items. As we all know, we are working on our renovation, so the modular walls are expected to come in the next few weeks, mid to late November. So we need to clear out a few more items to get that ready.
Okay. You keep going.
I can keep going. Okay.
Yep, I'll go through.
The next item on the agenda is in regards to the 2021 and 2022 holidays. So by federal law, we do have to declare Juneteenth as an official holiday this year. We didn't necessarily have to take the holiday, as we were notified of the holiday a few days before the actual holiday itself. But so that is in the updated resolutions for both 2021 and 2022. The other thing that a few things on that, as far as the Christmas Eves and New Year's Eves and Good Fridays, the way the resolution was written in the past is that the office is closed. However, staff has to use their own paid time, paid personal or vacation time to have that day off. So after speaking with the team, we decided to just remove those entirely, and if they're welcome to take the eves off if they want. But it didn't make sense to call it a holiday if it wasn't actually a holiday for the township. And then we did for 2022, according to our legal counsel, we brought back Columbus Day as an official holiday. Should I continue on, or?
Yeah, I can knock those out because the next ones will probably be it.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-349, finding certain personal property not needed for public use, obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired, to have no value, and ordering it to be discarded or salvaged.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Mrs. Tranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-350, amending resolution 21-012, employee pay holidays 2021.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Tranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-351, establishing the 2022 holiday schedule for non-fire personnel.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Tranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
All right.
All right, the next item on the agenda, after numerous months of our search, we did select our top candidate for the Senior Human Resources Manager position. His name is Mike Kremnitzer, and we hope the board considers him. I will let the board know, as far as the resolution in place, it's a bit unique compared to previous hires. We have put a contract, an employee agreement, together for Mike Kremnitzer, and that's included in the resolution here.
No changes since our conversation?
No, I will say Mr. Kremnitzer is not able to start until December 1st, but I do have respect, as he has a lot of end of the year things he has to do with his current employer. So we all know that it gets busy with insurance and all the end of the year things at any job, so he's not able to start till December 1st.
I thought it was a good interview, very knowledgeable. I enjoyed talking to him, and I'm anxious for him to get started.
Yeah, likewise. He's a professional and very grounded, and his background, as you can see on the board here for those that are joining us today, very service oriented, which I was happy to see. It speaks to character and good things, good characteristics, good character traits, and the interview confirmed that. So I think it'll help us a lot. I know you've been catching things frequently and fixing what you can, but the missing piece of the team that I think will go a long way. So thank you for your hard work. Any questions from the board?
No.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-352, hiring and establishing the terms and conditions of employment of Senior Human Resources Manager.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
The next item under administrative report is in regards to the next regularly scheduled trustee meeting on November 1st. We will either need to reschedule or relocate that meeting as the Board of Elections needs this area to set up for November 2nd. So if we can either reschedule a meeting or cancel it entirely or have a special meeting, it's up to the board on the moving forward. And we'll deal with the proper publications after this.
Okay. Is there a preference on before or after the second? We'll have administrative things I'm sure that we'll need to get accomplished and approved in that timeline. Going 4 weeks, I don't know is the best interest. Do the Friday before. We can do a daytime meeting if we need to, if that's easier for a group.
I can do Wednesday the 3rd.
I'm fine with that.
Wednesday the 3rd, 6 p.m. Work for you, Ms. Bunny?
That'll work.
Okay. So we'll need to,
That was consensus for us, right?
So and just so I understand, we are rescheduling the regular meeting to the November 3rd.
correct.
Okay. At 6 p.m. Okay. And then the last item I have under administrative report is a vaccine incentive program. This kind of came to us a little last minute, but we noticed that some communities nearby have put this together, and we worked with our legal counsel, and we do qualify for CARES dollars for this. So the program would be that any township employee that is fully vaccinated by the end of November would receive a bonus.
The only part of this that I struggle with is for the people that have had COVID, their immune system obviously is equipped now to fight it off. Did that discussion come up with legal counsel as far as if you
No,
had COVID
I mean,
before?
I think we would have been at that point if we were doing a mandate, but because it's as an incentive, we didn't discuss that on whether or not people will be vaccinated.
I guess if somebody's already had it, it's essentially nature's vaccine, right?
But there's different levels of antibodies,
Okay,
so.
I don't know. That was the only thought that came to mind for me. I don't want, hey, the vaccine's already had it. Doctor says you're good or whatever. 2 doctors, you'll get 2 answers. So, any thoughts from the board?
I'm sure the guidelines are the guidelines as far as qualifying.
It's pretty standard that they used from the other entities doing it. All right. No questions, Trustee Taranto?
I don't.
Okay. Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-353, an active voluntary vaccination incentive program for full and part-time employees, and appropriate $100,000 from the Coronavirus Relief Fund for the current expense of the program.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
All right. Last thing on the agenda?
We have a new business item?
Yep. The Finance Authority contract?
Yes.
Okay. I know there was discussion about that. With the overlay in the state that it's in, pretty much done, just getting refined, and just wanted to get in front of the board and talk about the future of that contract. Since it is ongoing, I know that we used a vendor for a lot of the legwork of the zoning. Is that fair to say, Ms. Bonnie?
Yes,
And Holly, right?
yes, she's our planning consultant.
And in talking with the team here, are you all comfortable leading kind of from here with regard to the applications and the overlay? Or would you be more inclined to bring a Holly type group back in when those applications surface? I want to be clear on that.
Sure, and I think it depends on where our staffing is in place for the zoning department, since we still need to search for our planning and development director. I guess it just depends on when that comes to fruition, and you know that individual will be fairly new here. So when we kind of foresee the overlay applications in the beginning again, we might want to revisit another type of consultant to help with plan review.
Have we been recruiting for that actively or posted for that?
My goal was to get HR in place first, and you'll be seeing that very shortly.
Okay, just with the timeline of HR, I didn't know if you wanted to maybe move ahead.
I wanted to revisit the position description for the development and zoning director, and hopefully with HR in place, we'll do a larger recruitment.
Is Pete Griggs, our zoning counsel, has he taken a look at our position description at all?
Not for this director position. I can have him look at it.
Maybe that'd be a good, he might have a few thoughts right away.
Sure.
And with him working across multiple communities, it's something he could probably speak to intelligently, I'm sure.
Okay.
Knowing too what's kind of going on here and what we're looking for, the kind of talent. So, So okay, then I guess there's nothing there. It wouldn't make sense to make a change before we have staffing in place. Anything else tonight? No?
I would like to add that we had the tragic event of a young person passing here in our school district. It's very saddening and a reminder of how delicate life is. So I know our community is stepping up and show support to the family, but I want to take a moment of silence here before we end the meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. If in time too, Ms. Bonnie, if the township would want to get a card or something like that together so that we can send our condolences to the family.
Of course.
Okay. And I can get you the information if you need it. All right. Nothing further here. Resolution number
354.
354. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-354, meeting adjournment.
Mr. Gumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Tranto? Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.